Hello and welcome to Lexi's Healthy Dynamic Life. I'm Lexi, and on this episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing Olivia Hertzog, a fabulous raw food chef who specializes in creating delicious meals that remind you of your favorite foods, but they are raw and delicious and amazing. Thank you so much, Olivia, for joining me today.
Yeah, it's so good to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm excited about this.
I'm super excited too. So without further ado, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, about the fabulous Olivia, where you're located, what you're doing.
Yeah, okay. Well, currently I'm located in central Pennsylvania. This is where I grew up and this is where my family is. So I've been here for the last few months during the craziness of the world. But ultimately, I kind of consider myself a bit of a nomad because I've lived a few different places over the last couple years. I was in Hawaii for about 6 months. And last year I was in Peru and Ecuador. So really just, pursuing community and fruit and traveling for that. So yeah, I'm kind of been all over the place the last few years.
Cool. What led you to Peru and Ecuador? I know you said building community and fruit, but can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, totally. So I went to Ecuador because there's a community there called Fruit Haven Eco Village. Have you heard of it?
I have. I've been meaning to go visit. Tell us.
Yeah. Okay. So I was there for almost 2 months last year in Ecuador, and it's wonderful. It's so great. I went because I wanted the community. I wanted to be surrounded by others who were living a raw vegan lifestyle and really interested in taking care of a piece of land and restoring it, and permaculture and all of these things. So yeah, it was great. It was a really, really powerful experience. I met a lot of cool people there. The owners are really, really neat people. So yeah, I was there. And then from there, I went to Peru for about 6 weeks just because I was already there. So I thought I would go to Peru. And just continued to eat fruit there and kind of explore some of the cool places, the cool ruins that are in Peru. So yeah.
Awesome. So what led you to travel for fruit? Some people listening might think that sounds noodly, but what led you to love fruit? How did you come to find raw foods? How would you describe your diet and lifestyle now?
Yeah. Okay. So man, long story, I guess, but I became vegan about 5 years ago, and it was through the influence of a friend who was the only person who I'd known who was vegan. I hadn't even heard the word vegan before that. I didn't even know. And she had a bookshelf full of different vegan books. And one of the books that she had was the 80-10-10 diet. And so right after becoming vegan, I went and I started reading all of her books, and I came across that one, and it just made so much sense to me. I'm like, oh, I don't want to just be vegan for the animals and the environment and to the exclusion of my health. Me being vegan, how it's personally affecting my well-being has to be every bit as important. And so, yeah, eating raw just made so much sense. So I started to dabble in that. And then I went to Israel. I was studying abroad in Israel, and I contracted a parasite, doing all the things I was not supposed to be doing, like brushing my teeth with tap water and eating food that wasn't properly cleaned. And yeah, but my point is I got this parasite, and it just totally wreaked so much havoc on my body. It was really, really terrible. So at that point, I was like, oh, I'm totally going all in on the raw food. This is how I'm going to heal this. I don't want to take some sort of drug to flush out my system and like deplete all of the other good things that are in my like gut. So I went in all in on raw, and like was struggling with that a little bit because I didn't feel like I had the support that I really needed. That was definitely a big struggle of mine. So that's when I moved to Hawaii to another raw vegan community, because I was like, I need to do this. I need to heal, and I need to be surrounded by other people who are healing themselves and doing the same thing. So yeah, I went to Hawaii and I healed my parasite after over a year, like just really long battle. And yeah, through that process, it's just became so clear to me that eating raw was like the most powerful thing, and just changed me in so many ways, like way beyond just the physical aspect. And so yeah, that was my in towards raw food, was trying to heal myself from the parasite.
And successfully healing yourself from the parasite.
Totally successfully, yeah.
And so after that experience, you stayed raw?
Yeah, I did. I stayed raw. I was fully raw for about a little over 2 years. And then, yeah, I felt so much healthier, and I felt like I wanted to experiment with some cooked foods. And I have, like, here and there had some things. But I've always kept it primarily raw, and currently I'm fully raw again. And yeah, it's just something that I'm continuing to always explore. It feels like a healthy thing for me to not be so dogmatic at this point. Like, I totally believe in being raw, but I think because we're multifaceted beings and there's so many different circumstances and experiences and reasons for how we're experiencing life, that maybe being super strict isn't always serving me right now at this point. So, but yeah, I was raw for a long time, or am raw. On and off raw.
Yeah, nice. What an awesome journey. And as you decided to go raw to heal your parasite, did you face any challenges along the way, or was it an easy transition?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I was so determined to heal naturally that for the most part, it was pretty easy for me. Like I said before, the hardest thing for me was the lack of support. Like, I read a lot. I understood that I had to eat in abundance, that I had to be aware of like my calorie intake, because it's easy, especially as a new raw vegan, to undereat. And so I felt like I really knew how to eat raw. It just felt like it was lonely and sad to be doing this on my own, especially when I was suffering so much physically at that point, and just really feeling like I needed others to be like cheering me on. And so that's why I moved. I just like made it such a priority in my life that I moved to Hawaii in order to heal. And once I was there, I felt like, yeah, it wasn't that hard, because I was just surrounded by other people who were eating fruit all day long, and who were really thinking deeply about how they could be healing their bodies and their minds and their everything. So yeah, for me, the biggest challenge was definitely a lack of support. And I went and I found that support, and then I was good.
That's awesome. And I personally resonate with what you shared. When I went, it was just me. My family was eating omnivore
Mm-hmm.
diet, and my partner chose to go vegan but was eating cooked food, and I felt really alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that community is really helpful when we're able to find it. But for folks who are listening who don't necessarily want to uproot their lives and move to another place, do you have any advice on how they can find support or stay connected with people that are willing to provide support?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's so I think it's so important to be with people. That's kind of like why I haven't been doing Zoom, because for me, like physically being in the presence of people feels really, really important. So my highest ideal, I guess, would be to like try to find people to travel, or even to make a move if that's possible. But I also totally understand that that's not possible for everyone, and that not everyone wants to do that. And so I think social media is such an awesome tool. Instagram, YouTube. There's so many Facebook groups that are full, like huge Facebook groups that are full of people who are eating raw or trying to eat raw or even just being vegan. And I think that that's a really awesome resource for people to find connection and find support. And I utilize those things still. And yeah, that's definitely what I would say. And to reach out to people, just like DM people and be like, hey, I really want to be raw, but I'm finding it really hard, or I'm like lacking support. And like, I would love to hear from people like that. I'd love to be there for someone who is wanting to make that change.
And how can people find you on Instagram?
Oh, my name, at Olivia Hertzog. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so easy. And we actually met over Instagram. So
Yeah.
I totally relate to that. I found social media, Facebook groups, and following folks on Instagram just super, super helpful. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that leads to in-person connections as well. I would love to, build community in the three-dimensional world as well. So
Totally.
really good advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned before that when you came to raw vegan and in Hawaii, you found so many more benefits beyond physical healing. What did you find?
I love this question. Yeah, so for me, so much, I feel like my whole being has changed since becoming raw. Like, I feel like I was depressed and scared and like directionless for a lot of my life. And since becoming raw, I feel like my mind has opened up and my heart has opened up. And I've just been living from a place of being just all around more excited about life and optimistic about life. And through raw food, I found like my passion, like what I'm doing right now, which is to create like cool raw food meals and dishes. And so, yeah, to me, like, if I'm being totally honest, I stay raw not for like my physical being, but for like my emotional well-being and for my spiritual well-being. And of course, I think all of those things are interconnected. It's not as if like my physical all, so it's kind of a silly thing to say, but that feels like when I eat cooked food, I notice a bigger shift in my emotional state than I do in like my physical body. So being raw is, yeah, it's just so powerful. And that's what I wish I could like find a way to articulate or to explain to people, but it's really a thing that you have to experience, I think. Is this, yeah, this just overall shift in how you view things and how life just feels so much more bright than it did before for me. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I can definitely resonate with that as well. I was suffering from years of depression and anxiety and just was kind of biding my time.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel excited to wake up every day and to connect and do things. And it might sound wacky to some people, like how would just eating foods that are raw change so much in someone's life? And I know what
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to articulate, but you just got to experience it for yourself. But you did mention that when you eat cooked foods, you notice a shift in how you deal with emotions. Are there any examples that you could share, or any situations that you might feel like sharing?
Yeah. So I feel like one of the things that I often notice is that I feel like I'm less open or receptive to others. Like I just feel a little more closed off, or a little more involved with myself and my own situation, and less curious or open to other people and how they're experiencing things. So I think particularly of like my relationship with my boyfriend. And yeah, just when I'm eating like cooked food, I feel like I'm more like I'm just less empathetic overall. I'm less compassionate and interested in what's happening for him. And I'm a lot more like, I'm having this experience and I need you to hear me or listen to me. And I don't find that it's as easy for me to access empathy. Um, yeah, that's the biggest thing that I find that I notice, is that I just don't feel quite as uh, naturally connected to others. I feel like it's more work. I don't know. Does that sound familiar, or like an experience or?
Yeah, I think that you articulated that really well. And I think that, as I mentioned, I was feeling so depressed and anxious that I was so wrapped up in any little thing was so big, such a big deal, that I got wrapped up in my head a lot. I think
Mm-hmm.
you said it so perfectly about how you feel like your heart has opened. And I love that you also mentioned the curiosity. I think that really has opened up for me as well. So just being interested in others and the world, and also introspectively too. Like I think I'm able to say, oh, like what was that thought? Like why did you come up and engage in a dialogue with myself that way, as opposed to, oh my gosh, this thought arrived, it's real and I gotta believe it and it's the end of the world, kind of catastrophizing. That's how I was before, definitely.
Yeah, I hear that.
And so I'm curious if you feel that in your journey with raw foods, if you made any mistakes, and what they were and what you might have learned from them.
Mm. Yeah, so I think the biggest mistake I probably made, which I don't know if it's a mistake, but the biggest struggle that I had was probably just trying to force something that like it wasn't time to force, like being overly strict, or forcing myself to be fully raw when my circumstances were just like hard, like the lack of support, um, the lack of access to like quality fruit that I was like really enjoying. And so I think, yeah, like I said, I think we're multifaceted beings, and diet is only one aspect of health, right? Diet is only one aspect of who we are. And so to force being fully raw before we're really ready for that, or even after we've been fully raw, I think sometimes can cause more harm than good. I think it has for me. And I think there would be times where, like, if I would have lightened up on myself a little bit in like the bigger picture, I would have been better off. So yeah, I guess my biggest struggle or mistake is just not showing myself enough grace or compassion, um, and just allowing myself to, yeah, just do what I need to do in whatever circumstance, and always coming back to like eating a primarily raw diet. Like that's the goal. I don't think the goal for me is to be 100% of anything, because that just is like, it just feels restrictive, at least at this point in my life. Like when I was healing from my parasite, like being 100% raw was the easiest thing in the world. Like I never wanted anything else because I wanted to heal so badly. And for me at that point, it was the right thing to do. But now that I'm at a point where I'm not trying to heal as deeply or as rapidly, I think being so like stringent about being fully raw is like not, yeah, it just doesn't always serve me. It doesn't serve me like it used to. So yeah, just being more compassionate with myself and gentle.
That makes sense. I think that showing ourselves loving kindness and grace, like you said, is so, so important. And you
Mm-hmm.
also mentioned that eating raw is just one spoke of the wheel. Health and holistic health has so many other facets. Do you want to talk about any of those that, or any practices you found helpful for you?
Yeah, so I've definitely noticed that even just recently that I haven't really even thought that much about those other aspects of health. Like I've been really focused on diet for years now and recognizing that yeah, there are other things that make me feel whole and happy and well. One of the things that I've really been exploring recently is like physical activity, and I've really gotten into hiking and to cycling, and like those things have like brought me a level of well-being that like diet alone never did. So yeah, like that. And also something else that I'm working on is like my ebooks and recipe books, and more broadly like my career. And so having meaningful work is another aspect of like health and well-being that's also really important. Feeling like I'm contributing to others and into the world in a way that's feels really good for me is important. It's important for everybody. Um, and relationships, that's another thing that I've been working on more than ever, is just finding people that I really connect with on like the deepest and most intimate levels. Um, yeah, like those are all aspects of health that I'm really interested in exploring and cultivating more depth and health in my life, apart from just diet.
I love that. I also love hiking and cycling too. It's so
Oh
much fun
yeah.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that when we were talking about how raw food has affected your life beyond physical healing, and you mentioned your relationship with your boyfriend and opening up and being more interested in his experience. And well, I don't know if you're still together or if you have a partner. Is he or are they raw, and how does that affect your life?
Yeah, so I am still with the same partner. And he has been raw on and off. Like he went with me to Ecuador and we were living in Fruit Haven together. And that was his first experience in the tropics and living in a raw community. And he, yeah, just ate like only mangoes for several weeks at a time. And that was really exciting for me. It was also really hard for him because he was experiencing like a lot of new circumstances and it was uncomfortable in a lot of ways. It was hot and there were bugs and there was a lot of emotions coming up for him that he hadn't dealt with before. So yeah, that was a lot. But currently he's like raw plus potatoes. Like he really is enjoying potatoes. So, which is great. Like I love it. So yeah, I definitely feel like, for the first like year or so, we've been together for 2 years now of our relationship. It definitely felt like it was a struggle in that I was really teaching him how to be raw or just to how to eat well, not eat pizza and burgers. So that was difficult because I didn't feel like I had him as like my partner in that, which I really wanted. But now he's like on board every bit as much as I am and really wants this for himself and eats fully raw, whether or not I'm watching over him. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful for that. But it's definitely been a journey. It's not been easy, and I've definitely been quite pushy at times. But he's doing good now, so I guess it was all worth it.
That's awesome. I can certainly relate to both. My fiance and I were omnivores, and then we kind of went on this journey together. So I'm always curious how people in partnership explore this new life, or that's so cool that you're able to teach him that.
Yeah. I'm so grateful that he was open. Yeah.
Are there any tips or tricks you have to share with anyone who is in a relationship with someone that really, really loves their pizza and burgers?
Oh man, I don't think I'm a good person to ask. Like I said, like, oh man, I think there were definitely times where um I was just too pushy and it wasn't helpful towards him. Like he would just feel that pressure and that would just push him in the opposite direction. I knew from the very beginning when I met him that he wanted to be vegan and that he wanted to improve his health. That was always very clear to me. But the process isn't always, or usually isn't always, so clear. And so while it was something that he wanted, there were lots of times where it wasn't the actual physical thing that he would do, where he would go out and get pizza because he had a hard day at work, or he was just exhausted or going through something. And I wasn't always very kind about it. I would like be critical, or I would question whether or not he cared about his health, or this was like being vegan or being healthy was something that he was working towards. And I don't think that that was ultimately the best support that I could give him, was to force him sort of to reassure me in those moments that he did care about his health. So I guess, just being, our lives are our greatest like example, right? Like what we do is so attractive to other people when we're just like so into what we're doing and so in love with our choices and the way that they make us feel. Like people feel that and they see that and they want that. And so more than like getting all upset and demanding change from someone, because we wouldn't want that for others to do that to us, I think it's just being like really excited about what you're doing and like offering to share that. And I just made him like salad after salad and smoothies for just the like constantly, and I just kept encouraging that. And I'd be like, oh hey, I'm going upstairs to make myself a smoothie, do you want one? And he would. And now, like, I think that that was a positive thing that I did for him, was just offering to share the things that I was eating and like backing off and not being judgmental when he would choose to go get a pizza is just not a helpful thing to do. So just being happy about yourself and just loving the other person for wherever they're at is seems like the best thing to do.
That is golden advice right there. And I totally relate. With a loving intention, I wanted to share with my fiance the benefits of eating raw. And I think that it definitely came off as pushy. And as soon as I decided in my heart to let it go, I think the next day he came up to me and was like, I'm gonna go raw. And I was
wow,
all right, I get it. So that's
awesome.
Good advice. Thank you. And so you mentioned that, it's hard sometimes to get access to good quality fruit, depending on where you live. And what you have access to. So, and you've traveled to Ecuador, Peru, and Israel, and Hawaii, maybe even some other places as well. What have you come to find were your favorite fruits, and where can we find them?
Oh man, my favorite fruit. I mean, my favorite fruit, I think, if I were to live off of one fruit for the rest of my life, it'd have to be mangoes. Like, mangoes are just so good. So yeah, like mangoes and durian. I'm a huge durian fan, and jackfruit and rambutan and lychees, and I really love Rollinia. Oh man, I mean, I guess I could go on forever, but yeah, I'm just really like when I do travel or vacation or whatever, I do it like for like where can I go like affordably to find good fruit. Like that's my number one priority when I think about going somewhere. So yeah, I mean, I had the best mangoes, I think, ever in Ecuador. So if you want good mangoes, go to Ecuador. And I was also in Thailand for a while, and they have good everything. Um, so that's another cool place to go. And then, yeah, when I'm living in the States, like right now, I find that Asian markets are really good option to find tropical fruit that you can't maybe find elsewhere. And then I'm really fortunate. I live in the middle of like Amish country in Pennsylvania. So I have like lots of like discount stores and like little mom and pop shops in the area that get um, produce that would otherwise be thrown away from like the bigger grocery stores in the area, and they take those things and they sell them at discounted prices. So I get like boxes of bananas and mangoes and tons of grapes for like half the cost of what I would at a regular grocery store. So yeah, if you can find like farmers markets or like, yeah, I know that these types of stores don't necessarily exist all over the place, but like discounted grocery markets, or even just going to like the produce manager at your grocery store and kind of like becoming his friend and asking if you can get like some wrinkly produce for the cheaper cost. That's something that I've done in order to make like eating raw more affordable. Um, yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. And all those fruits sound delicious. I also am obsessed with mangoes. Oh, so sweet and juicy. Yum. So you love fruit. You found raw foods. It sounds like you focused on fruit when you were living in Hawaii, or how did you, like a raw vegan can look a lot of different ways. So what did it look like for you at first, and has it changed?
Yeah, that's a good question. It can look like a lot of different things. So when I initially went raw, it was because I was trying to heal, and being low fat and eating fruit is like the best way to heal, I think. So I was eating just like almost exclusively fruit, sometimes a salad at night. And then when I went to Hawaii, and I had like an abundance of really great fruit, I was eating different things that were on the land. And then I got like even more serious about healing because I was like, enough is enough. I can't stand this anymore. And I did 2 months on only bananas. Um, and yeah, I mean, the bananas in Hawaii are amazing. There's so many different varieties. So it was a lot easier and more enjoyable to do that than if I were just like stuck in the States eating kind of bland Cavendish bananas for 2 months straight. So yeah, that's what I did. I was just totally, totally on fruit, even just bananas. And now like that was about 2.5 years ago. It definitely looks different for me now. I like when I was in Fruit Haven last year, I was eating just mangoes for a couple weeks straight, and a few other fruits here and there throughout my time there, but I was eating primarily fruits. And I definitely noticed that's how I feel best, is eating just fruit. But I don't always enjoy doing that. Like when I'm in Pennsylvania, I don't have access to fruit that just makes me really excited. I think I'm really grateful for the experiences that I've had in the tropics eating really good fruit, but in a way I feel like it spoiled me a little bit because I know how good things can be. And I just get really like bummed when I'm eating like poor quality fruit and it's just not sweet enough or it's not good. So that's actually one of the big reasons that I've started experimenting more with like raw gourmet or creating some of my old favorites raw, because I was just bored. I was bored just eating fruit. So yeah, right now I'm primarily eating, like I only eat fruit up until dinner. And then I'm working on a dressings and sauces ebook right now. So I've been having lots of salads and working on the dressings for those. And then I've also been experimenting with other fun things like raw vegan tacos and burgers and pizzas. And yeah, I enjoy those things and enjoy them mostly when I'm keeping them lower fat. So for me, raw veganism is like best done when like it's heavy on the fruit, um, and lighter on the fat content. And yeah, that's just how I feel. I feel my best. And that's what I would recommend to others as well to try that out.
Awesome. I love that. I resonate with that too. I eat fruit all day, sometimes for dinner, but I do also like a nice salad or zoodle dish, and I'm all about the sauces. And I also love being low fat. That's when I feel my best, when I eat a dish that's tasty but really high in nut content. I usually get really tired afterwards. So how do you find creating raw gourmet meals? Is it easy to make them low fat or is it a challenge?
Yeah, I think depending on the dish, sometimes it can be challenging to get the flavor that I want while being low fat. Um, and then I think I'm learning though that it's more just like a lack of imagination or creativity that I think I need it to be higher fat in order for it to be really tasty. So yeah, some of the things that I've made have been a little higher fat, even so, like still remaining like below 20% of my overall like intake for the day. So like still like not super, super fatty meals. Um, but yeah, I think I'm learning now to work towards like really finding ways to make some of these fun dishes lower fat. And yeah, I guess I'm up for the challenge. Like it's I don't really know what I'm doing. I feel like in a lot of ways like raw food or raw gourmet food is kind of uncharted territory. Like there's people for sure that are out there doing it and doing it really well, like some of the people you've already had on your podcast. And I think that's really cool, but like in the grand scheme of things, like a lot of people haven't done this. And so I think a lot of what I do is like just totally experimental because I don't find like there's not a lot of advice out there for how to make like raw foods, like raw gourmet foods, especially low fat. So yeah, I guess it is challenging, but like it's a challenge that I'm excited about and that I'm willing to take.
Yay! What is one of your favorite recipes that you've created that you're super, super excited about?
Okay, so I'm excited about like my sauces and dressings that I was saying about. Like I I could eat a salad or a zoodle dish every night, like totally satisfied. I love it so much. And just changing up the dressing is all I need. So I'm really excited about that. I really love like anything tahini based. Like my tahini based dressings are really great. I've gotten a couple like marinara sauces or tomato sauces that I've really honed in that I really enjoy. And then recently I've been working on like a raw taco meat that I'm also really excited about. I don't like walnuts, which I feel like a lot of like taco meats are made out of, and I don't feel good off of walnuts, and they're really fatty and heavy. And so I've been experimenting with some with like carrots and like sprouted buckwheat. And really I'm finding that like what makes a taco meat so good is just like the taco spices, like the flavoring, and it doesn't have to be so like fatty and heavy. So yeah, like I'm making this, I just made it actually last night, this buckwheat and carrot and taco meat, and I'm really enjoying that. So yeah, and then pizzas. I'm always experimenting with pizzas. Those are really fun just because it's pizza. So yeah.
Oh, that all sounds amazing. I cannot wait to try these recipes. When is your sauces and dressings book going to be coming available?
Oh man, not soon enough. I feel like I'm working on it, but I keep getting distracted with some of these other recipes, like the taco meat, which is something that I want to for sure share in an upcoming recipe book. But I, I should put that aside for now and focus primarily on my first project, which is the saucings and dressing, or the sauces and dressings. So, yeah, it's going to be 20 different recipes, and I have about 16 of them made. So hopefully within the next couple weeks, I will have them all done and it'll be ready to be released. So yeah, I'm hoping, I don't know, I should set a deadline for myself. Maybe that would be helpful, but within the next month, it'll be done.
Woohoo! I'm so super excited, and it's going to be perfectly in time for our summer when a lot of people enjoy fresh and hydrating salads. What do you already have to offer? Tell us about your other ebooks.
Yeah, I don't have any ebooks currently released yet. Yeah, my first one is going to be the dressings and sauces one. I thought that felt like a good place to start, like a less intimidating place to start. Some of these other recipes require a dehydrator or other gear or other tools, and yeah, they're just more complicated, and I felt a little more intimidated by making those recipes and sharing them and really wanting them to be so perfect. So those are future things. Yeah, the dressings and the sauces one is my first one. So
Yay! I'm so super excited, and I'm so glad that that's what you're starting with, because like we talked about, when this is kind of a small segment of the population, us raw vegans out here right now. It's spreading, and hopefully it'll spread quickly. But when I was looking for delicious recipes, you know, when I want something different than fruit or my go-to salad, a lot of these recipes require a dehydrator. And I'm like, what the heck is a dehydrator? I don't know what that is, or if I want to invest in that yet. So I really, really am excited and appreciate that your sauces and dressings will be accessible and super tasty. So that's so cool.
yeah, definitely. I totally hear that. I definitely want, my goal is to make this for like, yeah, even if you're not trying to be raw, even if you just want like a healthy dressing, I want them to be really like easy ingredients, things that you can find at whatever store, nothing like strange that you've never heard of before, and easy for people to make. And then I'll work into like dehydrated recipes for those of us who are curious or interested in those things. But yeah.
Awesome. And you have shared so much goodness. I really appreciate you sharing your story and so many little golden nuggets of advice that I'm definitely going to put in my back pocket, and hopefully some of our listeners do as well. And now for just some of my fun get to know you more questions. You said that having meaningful work is so important to having a holistic lifestyle, and it's really cool that you're living your passion and sharing your raw recipes with people. If you could have another career, what would it be?
Yeah, it's a good question. If I could have a totally other career, I'd probably be a lawyer. I think it'd be really fun. Yeah. To be, well, maybe not fun. Maybe fun's not the right word, but meaningful. I've kind of always felt like I've always had a very strong sense of justice, and feeling like there's people who haven't been fairly treated, or currently aren't being fairly treated, is like something that weighs on me a lot, and feeling like maybe I could be a part of bringing justice to them, is something that I've thought about a lot. So yeah, if I could like just go through school and have that all be done for me and I could be practicing, that's probably what I would be doing.
I love that. That is so awesome. Do you think that has anything to do with eating raw foods?
Totally. Yeah, I definitely do. Even being vegan, is definitely comes from a place of like, yeah, just really wanting things to be done justly and fairly, and for everybody to be treated with like love and kindness and compassion. And that bleeds into why I went raw, is that I felt like those things were important to give myself as much as they were to give others, or to give to the animals or to other people, or etc. So definitely feel like, yeah, being a lawyer and being a raw food chef aren't so different.
Love that. Thank you. And so you've shared your travels to so many different places, and I'm wondering if you have any future travel plans, perhaps when the quarantine is over, or where are you looking forward to visiting next? Is it a place you've already been? Do you want to explore new territory?
Yeah, good question. So before all of the craziness in the world started, I had plans of going to Southeast Asia at the end of the year, like Vietnam and Bali, because everyone goes there, and kind of exploring that area more. And then like started questioning that, and then my boyfriend and I decided that we were going to go to Costa Rica. That's somewhere that we've always wanted to go. And then now we've been questioning that again. And so our recent project, which I'm really excited about, is we're going to do like RV or like slash van life. Yeah, just with like the uncertainty of what it's going to be like to travel in the future, or at least traveling outside of the country, traveling internationally. I just have gotten really curious and excited about exploring the country that I live in, or the country that I'm from. So yeah, like I'm currently on the lookout for a home, an RV or van. I feel like more that I want an RV because I want a kitchen space, like taking my like love of creating raw food, and it's my career now. It's how I'm intending to make money. I have to take that with me on the road. So I feel like I need more than just a little van with like a, not really a little kitchen space, but like a bigger space to do work. So I'm looking more in that direction. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And as soon as like national parks start opening, I'm gonna be out there hiking and creating raw food, and maybe making like little energy balls to like share and sell to people who are in the parks hiking. And yeah, that's my current future travel plans, is to do RV life.
That's awesome. We'll have to do a follow-up interview on your RV life going raw. That's so cool. And
Yeah.
to finish off today, do you have any lasting words of wisdom or any advice to our listeners today about being vegan or raw vegan or holistic health or creating delicious meals? What do you want to share?
Yeah, I guess my advice that is pretty comprehensive, how I kind of like guide my life in more than just like my health or my diet, is to just stay curious, like to just continue to be open and curious about life in general. I think when we start to feel like we're in a rut, or like life isn't that exciting, or there's nothing more to learn or experience, it's kind of like a sad and maybe dangerous place to be, because we live in a world that is like infinitely more interesting and complex than I could even begin to fathom. So like staying curious is like to remain alive, really. I think is to be, yeah, yeah, I guess that's just really what I would encourage other people. It's how I want to live my life, is to just keep questioning things and to keep exploring and to keep adventuring, and whether that's like physically going and doing something or just to continue to explore your inner world and like what it is that you really want from life, and reflecting on like the things that you're currently doing and the relationships that you're in and whether or not these things are serving you. And yeah, questioning things and staying open and curious about life is my number one tip for myself and for others too.
Awesome, Olivia. Thank you so much for joining me on this interview today. It has been such a pleasure to hear all about your experience and everything that you've shared. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been really good. Thank you.
And thank you to all who are listening to this interview. I hope you have some amazing takeaways that you can keep with you close to your heart. And I am wishing everyone health and happiness and curiosity, like Olivia mentioned. If you want to learn more about what Olivia does, you can follow her on Instagram at Olivia Hertzog. And if you want more motivations, tips, and tricks for weight loss with raw foods, you can follow me at Healthy Dynamic Life. Thank you all again, and have a happy, healthy, and dynamic day.